Oh my god. Okay, so I think this is gonna have to be a Patreon exclusive video just because like there's just too much to like unpack at one time for this to make sense for anyone who isn't thoroughly caught up in my life. Now, one thing I've tried to do is kind of like make some of my content like palatable where you could watch some of it and hopefully it would be relatable in a sense. And then I realized there were certain gaps in terms of like representation. And so, like, if I didn't make any content at that particular time about something, it would be a problem because then there would be no one making content about that sort of thing. And I'm really happy now because I feel like we have just a diverse range of representation where you could kind of look and find someone who's going through something similar to where you are in your life. But I feel like we were at a time in the past where there were too many people at like one particular phase and it wasn't clear like where to go beyond that phase or before that phase. And so a lot of people were like in this deterministic phase where they're like, if you do this, this is definitely gonna happen, and if you don't do this, this is definitely gonna happen. And there was just no in between. And I feel like we have kind of a lot of in betweens and a lot of different paths that you can see very clearly and follow very clearly. And I also want to be one of them. But I want to just talk about reflection for a moment because, yeah. Reflection is, it's like a very funny phase almost, and like it's a very interesting place because, how can we say this? How should we talk about this, Perk? Do you want to talk about this with me? Okay, Perk is here. I think she's ready. Do you want to talk about this? Tell them, Perk. Tell them your feelings. She does a dance. Ready? This ain't Texas. Woo! Woo! Lay your cards down, 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 down. Drop your Lexus. Lay your keys up. Hey, spin around, round, round. Obviously, she loves it here, right? Anyway, let's go back. So my mom came out to Nashville because like my birthday was last week and I didn't think she would actually come, but she's been here for like the last 3 days and she's going home tomorrow. And we honestly haven't talked about a lot. Like we've talked about some very superficial things, but you know, while she was here and while we had some meals, we talked about like a lot. Just about how like everyone else is doing, like all these family members who I haven't talked to in a very long time. Like since I've been in Nashville, I've been talking to you guys about the specific things that are going on in my life. And those things don't really have anything to do with an entire world and a group of people in life that I left behind. Because I really did leave that life behind. And I think like some of you guys don't, well, a lot of you guys don't know that I actually did that. Like I left my life behind. And I think I might make a little bit more content about like unpacking that story very specifically and very clearly so that it becomes very evident like what it looks like to leave. Because leaving is not this it isn't this like straightforward thing that happens that is like super it's just not super simple and clear. It's kind of like complex and a little tricky and like dirty a lot, right, Perk? It's like dirty and like there were just some really funny stories. Like I've talked about my grandma on this channel a lot, and it sounds like there's actually a whole bunch of like my grandma is she's not even buried, so she wasn't buried in a cemetery. She was placed into a moratorium, or is it a mausoleum? And my mom showed me like images of, you know, her in her casket and her in the mausoleum, and it was really it was like historic. It was very classic. It was very I don't even know how to put it. It really felt like maybe she'd gotten to a place where she'd washed away her sins or something. Like she had gotten past a point of, you know, the things that have happened in her life for them to remain like significant enough to hold any weight in some derogatory fashion for her, and that like she was like washed away of her sins. And I thought that perspective was just very interesting. I don't know another way to say it. It's just very interesting because like who gets to do that in real life? Like who gets to live however and then just like move past like all the shit that you didn't be like, well, wherever we are now, this is what's happening. Nobody really gets to do that except her, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to soak that in. But that's the reality. And I don't know. I don't really feel bad or good about it, I guess. I feel kind of like it's incredible like how many people were like impacted, I guess, by her life, and how many people in a good and bad way, right? I feel like in a sense, like in my life, I was just kind of like a receiver of her, some of the actions that, you know, she's displayed in her life, but not necessarily bad and not necessarily targeted toward me. I just thought it was interesting. I don't know another way to. I think that's the best way for me to put that. I thought it was just interesting. My cat is eating my foot, and it's kind of funny. Okay, so Perk, let's get a toy. Why don't you go down and find a toy, honey? Like, my socks are for me, okay, to walk, and not for you. Please don't eat my socks, okay? This is a very difficult talk for us. It's hard for her to hear this news, okay? I know. Thank you. Thank you, Perk. Okay. Yes. So, and then I have a cousin, and I haven't actually talked about this cousin on this channel, but this is so fucking funny. So I have a cousin who is kind of like a playboy a little bit, and I haven't seen this guy in a while, and he got married again. He does this thing where he marries doctors, female doctors, very successful, obviously, right? And he's just like, it's like every time you see him, he's like in a new mansion with a new like really nice car, and it's very clear he's like living off of some woman, and this is just the way of the world, because like there are women who are just gonna open their wallets to him, and that's how it goes. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Like I just watched this, and I've been watching it for years, and all you can do is just like laugh. And he is a great person to have stories with. Like you will just always have stories with this cousin, always. Like you will never be at a loss of stories, because he's always got stories. It's just and it's great. It's great. Like you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Just my. And then there are just like all the other family members who you like see. You see them, and you hear the stories, and you're just like, yeah, that makes sense. And you hear about something that happened, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense too. And it also feels so. It feels so good to know that like you aren't a part of the story, because you don't want to be a part of the story. There's no real reason you should be a part of the story. And you can just be grateful that like you are not a part of the story. Um Damn. The amount of like appreciation that I feel for that. I just want to just leave some space, okay? Like leave a moment for that to be real. Damn. Yeah. For now,